Hello?
Hello? So,
Can you hear?
yes, now I can hear you.
Okay, so I guess it was something on your side.
Yes, it was on my side. I had to go through the settings. I'd switch it microphone.
All right. So I made you a co-host.
Yes, I saw that.
So will you be sharing the screen?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
So,
And do you want me to monitor the time to give you some notification when like 5 or 10 minutes?
yes, we're going to do a breakout session here in this session. So I will try to talk for about like 15 to 20 minutes or so, and then we'll have a breakout session in about 15 minutes, and after that leaves us for 5 minutes for finishing, wrapping up. Yes. That's the idea, at least. So.
All right, so then we will have 5 minutes left. I will let you know, okay?
Yes, excellent.
And maybe you can also monitor by yourself.
Yes,
I'll try to
have my yes, excellent. I will have my stopwatch up and running. I can't find the virtual background file. Was that?
I don't know. Didn't you get anything from Remigius? Yeah, but it will be fine. But if you will use your own, unless you will use our one.
Oh, I think that the yellow background here will do.
Fine. So we will start like in 1 minute. Okay. All right, so it's time. Let's start our session. Hello, everyone. My name is Robertas, and I'm a moderator for track 2, Agile Tour Vilnius. And today I would like to welcome Ola Berg. And Ola will give us the presentation about really important things during these COVID virus times about feelings. So it's hearts to hearts, hearts talking to hearts. And I would like to ask participants, please be active. Please use our platform, Lietuva, and please leave your questions. And these questions will be reviewed and answered at the end of the session. And now, Ola, please, stage is yours.
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. This is a situation where we have grown to and been more and more accustomed to, I guess, now when we are in these days when we meet and talk and do everything, even agile transformations, virtually. So I'm looking into this small camera here and I'm pretending that I see you all these things that you normally do when you talk to a group of people. You see how they stand, how they move, how they behave, how they breathe, and you don't see that. It feels almost like you're talking into an empty void, which is kind of problematic, of course, since we are, as agile coaches, as leaders and facilitators of agile transformations, we are very much working with people and with emotions, and we need to have access to all these things, all these cues for everything. So I'm going to talk a little bit shortly about myself. I used to be a systems developer. I used to be a software architect. I used to be a believer in the notion that if you think things through and make them really well thought out and well planned, things will go well. If you did this big design up front, you would create the best software available. If you thought the organization through and through, you will create the best organization. And also when you are working with methods, if you have methods for everything and processes for everything, it would be really, really great. That would guarantee that we would have a smooth ride together, smooth collaboration together. And when we come out in the industry in the late 90s, I saw that, well, those ideas were very good in theory, but they seldom worked in practice. And it wasn't until I got in touch with agile methods, like in 2006, 2007, that I realized that, well, actually this is a way better way to create things, to create stuff, because the idea that we all know everything on beforehand, that doesn't hold in real life. Real life is too messy, too complex. So I started working out with agile methods and try to help people, persuade people, help people to collaborate in new ways using these frameworks, these new tools. And I realized that, well, that didn't work so well, because what it's really boils down to is that these things doesn't really hold true. It doesn't matter if we have a perfect plan for how we're going to roll out our agile transformation. The plan doesn't hold. It contains too much unknowns. It doesn't matter how much we explain things, try to create understanding on a pure intellectual level. Like I heard Mary Poppendick talking yesterday. She was talking very much about how we should try to optimize for one-piece continuous flow. For instance, when we see a need, we should focus on meeting that need. We should avoid backlogs. We should avoid prioritization procedures and everything. And that's good in theory, and we can understand that. But you don't get the transformation. You don't get these things to happen in a collaboration, in an organization, until each and every one of the people in the collaboration, in the organization, are with you. It doesn't, yes, explanations are good, but they don't cut it. How hard can this be? It can be super hard, because it's about affecting people who are it's about affecting people and their relationships, right? So we need to understand a bit about how we as individuals act and think under the hood, deep inside our brains, if we are to successfully help people to move in new directions, to help people to collaborate in more sustainable and productive ways. So I will try to give you very, very quickly and briefly a couple of models picked from psychology, and we'll try to explain how they work inside of us and affects our emotions and affect change. And then we will have breakout sessions where we will discuss together, okay, what in my behaviors are affecting other people in the transformation in different directions, and how can we help each other to behave in different ways in order to make this change smoother, right? So the first model is this notion about approach and avoid. The thing is that every living organism that has the ability to move, we have all this capacity of moving towards something or avoiding some things. And that is directed by very, very primitive structures inside our brains. Which means that if we get a hunch that there's a hint that there's a snake here, primitive parts in our brains get alerted directly, and we trigger this avoidance system, and we don't want to be there. While if something seems safe and it's kind of looking intriguing, we would very much like to investigate it. And that is a much slower process. We are much more careful when we investigate and explore the new, and we see something that seems dangerous and whoops, we go back again, avoiding it. And that is basically directing everything that we do. Doesn't have to do only with snakes, it has to do with new relations with people, or when we meet, this is our new boss, or this is your new role, or this is the new method we're going to use. Ah, interesting. Oops, that is something that feels dangerous. I tend to avoid it. So that is the first thing, that we are always optimizing for safety. And we are always trying to feel safe and avoid everything that has the least bit of insecurity and that could be a threat. So we're always optimizing for safety. We would like things to be certain. We would like we don't want to step into the unknown too much. So is it safe here? We don't want any unpleasant surprises. That's one of the most important things when it comes to our human behavior. The other notion is that we, as a species, we are very weak compared to the other the other creatures on the savanna, which is where we lived long ago. We don't have much fur, just a little bit here. Don't have sharp teeth. We are very slow. We're not that muscular. Most other animals are much stronger than we are. So basically, we are one of the weakest creatures on the savanna. But together, we have been able to take over the world. Right? Together, we have been able to create to create habitats all over the planet. We have even gone to the moon and are looking for going to Mars. So the power is always in the human tribe, in the human gang, in the team, in the organization, in the collaboration. that is where we have our power. So we have a deep instinct that if something, if we get a notion that, well, maybe we are not so very popular in this group, maybe the others should leave us alone on Savannah, we fear that more than almost anything else. We are even more afraid of being left alone or being thrown out of the group than we are for snakes, because we know deep inside as an instinct, because that's how we survive, that if we can stay together, we can survive. So we have this strong notion of togetherness. And when you scan the brain of people who are in pain, you see that, well, and then you scan the brain of people who have experienced a loss of a loved one, or they have been thrown out of work, or yes, some kind of social loss. You see that the physical pain and the social pain is very much alike. So we very much want to stay together. That's a key thing with us. We want to feel safe and we want to stay together. And we are very, very observant. Okay, this group, is this group fair to us? Do I have a high status in this group? Can I influence this group? Or is my status shifted? Are the others treating me well or not? We are always monitoring that. And we can accept being treated very unfairly, being devoid of any status, if we can stick together. But we're very, very observant on the things that are happening socially. So if we want to do something, be something, perform, we always look for this. Okay, is this environment safe? And especially, are these people good to be with? What can I do together with this group of people? And we need to have that first before we can trigger our other inner motivators, the things that we long for when we want to perform good things, great things together. And what we are especially looking for is these things, these three things. When we are in a safe environment together with people that we have a working relationship with, we are longing for preserving and expanding our, first of all, autonomy, our ability to act, ability to choose, ability to select your own paths. And we are also looking for preserving a good self-image, looking for being able to look at ourselves in the mirror and saying, yes, this is a good person. And by good, we both mean that it's a person who is purposeful, who do good, meaningful deeds. The work is for a higher, better purpose. But also that this is a person who's good at something, a master of something. I'm really good at being an agile coach. I'm really good at being a systems developer. I'm a really good boss. I can master this. So freedom and a good self-image is something that we also always strive for and want and look for. And what we mean by good self-image, well, both that we have, that we are meaningful, that we're doing meaningful things, that we have a purpose, but also that we are good at what we do, mastery. We talk about autonomy, mastery, and purpose as the triad of inner motivations in the context of a group where we can feel safe. Okay? So thing is, if we want to explore the new, if we want to experiment with a new way of working, we need to have these needs fulfilled, right? We want to feel safe, free, and good, meaning both meaningful and competent together. And if we are put into situations where any of these are threatened, If, for instance, we feel that the job has lost its meaning, or that we feel that we're working for an evil organization that doesn't do good, that's hurtful. If we are put into situations where we don't feel competent any longer, we tend to trigger our avoidance mode. If we are in a new situation with new people that we don't know, or when we are changing the power structure, so that we used to have high status in this group, and now that status is removed for us, that also triggers our avoidance response. Or if someone is trying to force things upon us, we get defensive. And if this feels unsafe, we want to flee. And when we talk about transformation and change, where do we want to flee? Where when we feel that the new is uncertain and unsafe, we want to flee back to where we once belonged, back to the old ways of doing things. That they might be bad, but at least we know them. So we can talk about this safe, free, and good together, where good is meaning both meaningful and competent. We can talk about these as our basic needs that we need to preserve when we transform into something new. And of course, we need to challenge them a bit. It's always a bit unsafe when we talk about change. When we talk about change, that is always a component of change is forced upon us, may it be outer circumstances or a reorganization or management decisions that we should go agile or whatever. It is always constraining our freedom. And there is always an element of we need to refocus the meaning of what we do. And we also need to learn new skills, which means that we for a while doesn't feel as competent. And there will be restructurings in how we are organized and how we are set up. So this togetherness factor will all. So you can see that in every change, and in agile transformations in particular, all of our psychological needs are challenged. But on the other hand, the agile ways of working, they also contain things that are enabling us. They contain elements and tools that should increase the sense of safety, psychological safety, and sustainable pace and so forth. They contain options for self-organization and self-leadership. So we should have more freedom, and we should have stronger bonds, and being able to be even more competent and doing even more meaningful work. That lies also in the promise of the agile methods. So, from my experience, agile methods are both helpful when it comes to meeting our psychological needs, but they're also challenging to our psychological needs. So an exercise that I often do when we talk about these things is, okay, let's see, how do we work together? How do we communicate? How do we present these agile ways of working together in order and how does that affect us? What in our actions are helpful and meeting the psychological needs of everyone involved in the transformation, and in what ways are we challenging? And can we act differently? So we are going to do that exercise in a mini version now together, where we first think for ourselves for 3 minutes, and then we will be tossed into breakout sessions where we talk to each other and help each other finding out what can we do differently for about 10 minutes or so. So first 3 minutes or so when we think for ourselves, and then 10 minutes or so in the breakout session together with a few other people when we talk. Yes, first quick 10 seconds each presentation. Hi, I am, and I work with so on. And then how is my behavior triggering emotions in the group where I'm working, the team or the organization, in the perspective of our psychological needs within the heart. And together, how can we act differently when we do this? Okay. So I'm going to create breakout sessions now.
And
or sorry, yes.
I'm not sure if you will succeed because the session was not foreseen to having breakout rooms. You can try to do that.
Oh,
but,
okay.
But if it's not, then yeah, it's if you still need to have those breakout rooms, then
no. But if yes, the idea was that this should be a breakout session
okay.
And that was what we had communicated. But if we are not that technical, try to find out if you can create breakout sessions with about 4 or how many participants are we now?
Okay. So we have now, just a moment, 16 participants.
Yes, 16 participants. So if we can create 3 breakout sessions excluding me and you, if that's possible, and if we can have them in 2 minutes, that will be great. And if not, well, then we can do another version of this. So first of all, take 2 minutes alone while we are trying to figure out the technical details, and think for yourselves, okay, given these psychological needs in the agile ways of working and in the transformations that you are in right now, how do you think that your actions and behavior affect these psychological needs that the people around you have? 2 minutes talking about that, and we will try to create breakout sessions. Okay, 1 minute left to think. Okay, do we have breakout sessions, or do we need to go without them?
Ola, can you try to join any of the meeting rooms? Do you see the option to join?
No, I don't see the option to join.
All right, so then in that case...
Yes, no, sorry. No, I don't see any rooms. But we don't. If we don't have them, we don't need them.
Okay, the option would be to rejoin that meeting room once again, and then we will have it.
Okay, so okay, so what we're going to do is to stop. Everyone should leave this meeting and rejoin it in order to go into the meeting rooms. Yes. Okay. Great.
So let's
do that. Yes, let's do that.
Okay. All right, so everyone, please rejoin the meeting.
So, do we have the rooms or not?
Oh, yes, we should have.
Okay. Can you see that we are like 4 people in each room, me and you excluded, or is it?
No, I do not see it yet.
Okay. Okay. If that's the case, we are so few, so I guess that we could just open up for not having to enter breakout sessions. So if we skip that and just leave the question open, do any one of you participants would you like to either ask a question about these topics or share one of your experiences in how you feel or your experience about these issues, these topics? I have a problem here. I can't share the screen.
You can share the screen. Okay, just a moment.
Seems like I am inside as 2 persons, and one of them is the presenter, and the other one is. Now I'm the co-host. Great. Yes, thank you. Okay, and we are not in a breakout session now.
No, we are not.
No. Great. Great. So
also the participants, they are not able to speak. They are muted.
Okay, that's the case. Right. So basically, then I guess that I we need to reconsider. I can share some of these stories instead of how this might affect. And also, I don't see the chat window now. So if you could be helpful, and if you have questions, if you are muted and you have questions or comments regarding this, please put it in the chat, and maybe you could help with asking if they have come any questions. Okay.
All right. I would like to encourage everyone to put those questions in the Q&A sessions.
Yes.
Because this is where we are collecting this information.
Yes. Sorry, not the chat. The Q&A, of course. Okay. So what this means when it comes to transformation is that we can never expect good results unless we tend to these needs. And it doesn't matter if you're working, for instance, as a Scrum Master with a team, and there are people in the team who are very, very much against these changes, or if you're approaching a management team or working with the whole organization, it's the same thing, because we're all human beings, and we all share the same ancestry and have the same basic instincts, that we would like to be safe, we would like to keep our autonomy, our freedom, we would like to have strong, good bonds with people, and we would like to feel good. So whenever we enter a situation where we are to help people work in slightly differently, and that could be the same if you are if you're a member of that team, and you are curious about agile ways of working, and you feel that your teammates might not be on the same journey as you, or if you feel that, well, this way we are doing things doesn't feel right. Might be we have a new Scrum Master, and the new Scrum Master says really, really strange things. You can look inside yourselves and see, okay, what is it that I'm feeling bad about here? Is it my freedom that is constraining me? Is it that I feel unsure about the others, the togetherness, the relatedness? Or is it that this feels meaningless or bad? Or is there any other notion of psychological safety or psychological unsafety that I feel? So for instance, typical situation. I came in as an agile coach with a team where there were a couple of really clever people. This team, they were doing mathematical optimizations of different things, a really, really sophisticated piece of software there. And they were very much used to sit on their own and think for themselves. And that didn't always lead to good results. They needed to be more connected with the others who were taking their components and putting them into a larger piece of software. They did the optimization and the calculations, but the whole software environment around them was using that for creating a good product, and they needed to be more connected with the others, and they were more like lone wolves, more accustomed to sitting on their own. So the Scrum Master had tried to come up with all the, now we should follow Scrum practices, we should do sprint planning, we should do this, we should do this. And the others, the lone wolves, they were very polite people. They didn't want to argue or have a fuss, so they nodded and say yes. But when they were there, they didn't really collaborate. So I was brought in, and they were asking, okay, how can you help us? Sure, I can try. And I could sense there that they didn't feel safe, they didn't feel free, because they were very much not sure what the others meant to them. They were so unused to them. So we did exercises where we first of all talked about they presented to each other what they had done in the past that had given them so much pride. And they brought up a lot of things from previous jobs and so forth. And you could sense that everyone was very proud of being able to display mastery. So they felt that, okay, in this group, we could really feel good about ourselves. And then we had exercises around the purpose of our work. What was the good thing that our work, our optimization algorithms could bring to the rest of the world? And they had really good ideas about optimization could save a lot of resources, a lot of fuel, a lot of man hours, a lot of money by creating stuff that could give their mathematical the beauty of a good mathematical optimization could be translated into the beauty of not having to work so much, not having to consume so much fuel, not have to consume so much resources. And when they started to talk about that, they found each other that, yes, this is something behind. We love mathematics, we love optimization, we love to sit in our own chamber, but yeah, behind that, we can actually do good for the world together. And I asked them, can you do that if you sit on your own? And they will say, no, we really should collaborate more with the other teams. So when we grounded their work in purpose so that they could see a bit further, it came from themselves. And when they start to find each other, they start to form really strong bonds of togetherness. And that helped us to work further and see, okay, if we need to collaborate with others, we cannot really be such a lone wolf. We cannot make up all of our decisions of our own. We need to really relate to them. So by looking at this heart and changing the way we were framing things, we met the people's psychological needs so that they became more open to collaboration with others, and that led them to start to investigate and ask for planning together with others, ask for retrospectives together with others, ask for demo sessions where we focus on integration. They started to see their role in the larger ecosystem. So the longing for the agile ways of working started to come from them. It wasn't not something that was forced upon them. Other example, working with a management team who had the feeling that the problem in the slow delivery on IT was because that the IT crowd, the people in the team, did a really, really bad job. And they didn't see how it was their decisions and their priorities or their shifting priorities that created this mess. They didn't see the connection between their own decisions and the mess further downstream. So they blame the people for a mess that they themselves have been creating. And when we had worked with that team, we helped that team to visualize the situation in a Kanban board, where they could see where everyone could see what was actually blocking stuff. And you can see that very much it was due to reprioritizations or decisions that we should take on too much on the same time. We got too many items on the board at the same time, that we were lacking essential information because we didn't get access to the right people and so forth. So all of a sudden it became visible that very much of the problems that were manifest, that emerged in the teams, was actually had the root causes in the decisions and undecisions of the management team. And when this visualization started to take hold and everyone saw this, the management systems felt threatened, because they had felt that they were masters on planning, they were masters on doing the right prioritizations, they were masters in leading, and now all of a sudden you saw that they weren't. And their avoidance mechanisms was very, very strong. So they said, well, basically you cannot show this you cannot, this Kanban board is not something that can be shown. They became afraid of the visualization. They became afraid of the truth. So what we did there was that we approached them, and together with them, from their perspective, started to visualize how they saw things. And using that, they started to realize themselves how their decisions affected others. So they themselves, from their Kanban board, their visualization, started to see and do that together. That gave them a much clearer, bigger sense of safety, and that created this the feeling that they actually they were good at making the decisions, calling the shots, and they started to work more in harmony. And after that, we could bring in the others' visualization and start to create a program Kanban board that you could see everything that was happening, and they all were on the same page. But when we presented the visualization saying, hey, this is the truth, that presented so much of a threat to the management to say that we wouldn't want to see that visualization. But when we guided the management to themselves make that visualization, they felt that they were in control, so their psychological needs were met. Okay. So 2 examples of how you can use this model as a checklist to see, okay, in our behavior, in the way we are driving this transformation, in the way we are presenting the agile ways of working, are we really meeting people's psychological needs? Okay. So now, questions and thoughts.
All right, so we are still waiting for the questions, and meanwhile, I'm using opportunity and also want to ask a question. You are talking about psychological safety and well-being of the personnel, but what would be your suggestion for the, let's say, old style and conservative organizations who actually keep the autocratic style of leadership, like command and control? So,
yes,
but yeah, they faced a situation that the COVID and people need to work remotely. So the changes, how to approach them? What would be your suggestions?
Yes, the thing is that, okay, why does people cling to command and control? Well, basically because that feels safe, that feels that they have a high status, and that they feel that they are masters, and they have their high status and work for the good of all, and they have the pleasure of great autonomy. So as long as you threaten this and challenge this, it will temporarily mean that they will feel less safe, less autonomous, less status, less of masters. So the idea is that when you, I mean, if they are on top, you cannot remove them. So you have to work with them and make sure that they always feel safe, free, good, and related at all times when change comes. So a good thing that we have done is which is something that we do always when we create do transformation, is that we start to focus on, okay, what's the real value here? Because if the perceived threat is that, well, if I can't control my employees all day because they sit at home, okay, how can I control them at home? Well, let's start with have this discussion of value, because then we can start to measure value, measure output, measure outcome instead of output. And working with them, having that discussion, okay, what do you feel is the most valuable thing here? And clarify that. And often you find that, well, they haven't asked themselves that question for ages. And all of a sudden they start to ask for, okay, what's the real value, what customer value is? Okay, what's the proxy for customer value? How can we see that we are providing customer value? And then start to look, okay, together with the people working from home, what would be the indicator of us creating great value? What would be the indicator of us stopping creating value? So use the change. The change is someone that happens us, that comes from the outside factor like COVID, and use that in order to create a psychological safe transformation for the manager by helping them looking at the essential thing, which is value, outcome, and customer happiness. So that means that we can have it becomes an opportunity for reformulating how we collaborate. So we're actually using the force of COVID in order to create kind of a new deal between management and the workers. But we must work with them. It must come from them, because else they will still have that command and control mindset.
All right, I have nothing but just can agree that actually value for the customer is forgotten very often. That's strange. Thank you for your answer. We have one more question. Let me read. So could you give an example of an exercise to use to start getting people to start building safety and togetherness?
Yes, besides this exercise that I was planning to have today, where we basically reflect, okay, what do we do and don't do, and then talk together, what do we do and don't do, and how can we work differently, just by starting to talk about behavior. The three things that we need in order to start to build team to begin with is that we see a joint purpose, a common purpose. So focusing on the common purpose, as we did with the optimization team, that listen, we are working together for this greater good, this greater thing that is bigger than any one of us, that helps us to orient towards each other and towards an outer goal, which means that we stop to look at our own needs and start to see our common joint needs. And then we must talk about starting this discussion with behaviors, having team agreements, the first iteration of the team agreement. This is how we would like to behave towards each other. And super simple exercise, just 3 to 5 minutes, write down what is good behavior on Post-its, then put it up on a wall, or mirror wall, or mural if you are in working remotely, and see, okay, very often you see that, well, we actually think alike what safety means. But going from I think that this is what safety means to we think that this is what safety means, because we recognize that we have the same ideas, and put it into writing, not just thinking, not just saying, but put it into writing, creates kind of an agreement that increases the safety that we can hold. So common purpose, and that we feel that we are in agreement of what good behavior looks like. Those are two good starting exercises, looking for the purpose and start to formulate the team agreement, iteration 1. Because very much of the other discussions around freedom and mastery will come from that, and also togetherness, relatedness will grow automatically from that.
All right, thank you.